questions to think about. Why do people struggle with deduction and with evaluating deductive arguments? Because of spreading activation and the things that we believe to be true, whether they're valid or invalid. And also we like to confirm, we have a confirmation bias, so we'll look for affirmative information, so we won't rely as much on modus tollens or denying the consequent as would be helpful, and we will maybe rely on an invalid argument structure such as affirming the consequent. People often display a belief bias when reasoning about classes and categories. Why does this belief bias occur, and why might we often reason from belief without seeing any negative or ill effects? Well, if we believe it to be true, whether it's valid or not based on the argument, then it's true in our reality, right? Like, the belief bias occurs because, so the validity is kind of overridden by whether we think a conclusion is true or not. That's why it occurs. And also, just because one argument might not validate a belief doesn't mean the belief isn't true. It really depends on the quality of the argument. So if you've looked at lots of arguments over time to come up with a belief, and then one argument doesn't capture that properly, whether that's valid or invalid, it's not going to change your belief. Confirmation bias is pervasive, but we rarely notice our tendency to reason this way. What are some possible downsides to confirmation bias? Are the downsides sufficient to warrant using strategies to avoid confirmation bias? So downsides of confirmation bias is you just confirm what you want or think to be true. I mean, that's a pretty big downside. Then you're not finding the truth anymore. Are there downsides sufficient to warrant using strategies to avoid confirmation bias? Yes, if you want to know something, you have to look for just confirming alternatives.